Hey, this is just breaking. Guccifer 2.0 has hacked the Clinton Foundation's emails. This is right from Guccifer's website from today. It's from today, October 4th, 2016. He says, this is right from the post. He says, many of you have been waiting for this. Some have even asked me to do it. So this is the moment. I hacked the Clinton Foundation server and downloaded hundreds of thousands of docs and donor databases. Hillary Clinton and her staff don't even bother about the information security. It was just a matter of time to gain access to the Clinton Foundation servers. This is Guccifer 2.0. Here are the contents of one of the folders that I got from there. You want to see? So this is like some folders that they had, like where they keep... So, caucus leases, caucuses, check requests, contracts, conventions, DC region, DCCC, DNC. This is all different folders with emails, expenses, February event, finance, financials, fundraising, insurance benefits. So then we go to the next thing. Intern sandbox, large contributions, legal, letterheads, new hire forms, NGP, OFA, PAC fundraisers, pay to play. That's a folder? Pay to play?
Do they run an arcade?
That's a folder? Pay to play? That's a folder.
Do they run circus games? What do they do? What are you paying to play?
Don't you want to click? Don't you want to click on that folder right now?
Yeah. I want to put a quarter in it and play. Oh, you mean some sort of corruption?
That sounds like some kind of...
Oh.
Guccifer goes on and says, as you can see, the private server of the Clinton clan contains docs and donor lists of the Democratic committees, PACs, etc. Does it surprise you? And he says, here are some docs, for example, a small list of donors. They have a list of donors. So here's the donors, their names. That's the city they're in. That's their zip code, West sub-region, and then they have their emails over there. But here's interesting. This is even more interesting. This is like from the financial industry, right? So they have Goldman, J.P. Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, Pricewater, Deloitte, Touche, B of A, and then they have the people from there. There's all the and then here's the money that they gave them.
So right? the people are representatives.
So these are the representatives.
Is that right? Is that? Yeah. Oh yeah, Michelle Bachmann's on there. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then here's the money they got. And so that's interesting. It looks like the big banks and corporations agreed to donate to the Democrats a certain percentage of the allocated TARP funds. This is what Guccifer says. And here's this next thing, because Barney Frank, Bank of America, amounts That's the TARP fund, 15 trillion. And so does that mean that they gave him $17,000? Is that what that means?
That's what
So it appears, because it wasn't clear on the site. He just throws this stuff up.
Yeah, so all this data has to be kind of
so we have to go through this data, but I'm just showing it to you because he put it up today. So I want to get to it.
So each one of those companies, if we're reading it at its face, gave Barney Frank that amount out.
So they got this from the government, and then they gave Barney Frank this amount of money.
If
so
you
they
add
gave
up
them
the
back
TARP funds, you're talking about hundreds of trillions, right?
So the trillions were 17. So they got 17. So is this 15 trillion in TARP funds?
Did they get 15? No one's getting $15 trillion for anything.
So we don't know exactly what all this means, but it looks like what it means. It looks like what it means is here's the TARP. Look at the TARP. 25 trillion, 15 trillion, 3 trillion.
But did somebody go through and find out they all gave the exact same percentage? Is that what you were getting at?
I don't know. And then here's I don't know. He doesn't really explain it. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't really explain it. This is just on the front page of his Guccifer 2.0 today. So that's interesting. I can't really explain to you what this means. What it looks like is that here's the TARP money they gave, and then here's the money they're going to give back to this guy, Barney Frank or Carolyn Maloney. And there's the bank. Bank of America, Bank of New York Mellon, Capital One, Citigroup, Fifth Third, Goldman Sachs, Huntington. Wow.
Barney Frank, look at him though, huh?
Getting the contribution. It looks like these are the contributions.
Keeping his beak wet.
That's what it looks like. Let's go to the next page. And then here's Chris Van Hollen, and here's all the banks, and here's the money they got. Here's the TARP money. Here's the money of the TARP.
That's just, I just see so much freedom.
A lot of freedom and liberty.
A lot of freedom of speech going on right here.
Oh, that's what that is.
That's what
by
that
the
is.
way.
They're just speaking.
They're just buying speech.
Just like you and me when we go to the diner to talk over the kitchen table topics. Just some gentle freedom. There's no return for all this money they're spending.
And here's the money the banks give to the DCCC. So there you go, Guccifer. Why does that make you laugh so hard?
It's not surprising.
There it is.
It's not even a little surprising.
So the government gives them TARP money. They take some money out of that TARP money. They give it back to the government. Here you go. Hey, thanks. There's a little tip for you.
And I'm naive in a way because you know what actually does surprise me, or just sort of maybe it's not surprise, but it's a little off-putting, how organized all of it is. There's all these things like, in the movies when the mafia guy gets caught and he goes and he burns his records.
Yeah.
Because they got to write down the transactions.
Right.
But they're all, so it's like, oh, why did you bother? It's just amazing that they have it written down.
Oh, you're saying, why would you write down the stuff that could embarrass you?
What I'm kind of saying is this is evidence.
Right.
Except it's legalized because the laws allow it. So it's not. So the mafia guys, they should have to burn this stuff. It's also what they don't want anybody to see.
There you go. Good for Guccifer. I thank you, Guccifer 2.0, for providing this information. That's fantastic. Again, your democracies are the people who I always like to tell this to people who say you can't vote third party. Your democracy's already been stolen from you. It's been stolen from you from money, big money, corporations, Wall Street, any huge corporate, telecommunications industry. They've all been bought. They co-opted all of our representatives, all of them, except for Bernie Sanders, maybe. That's what this is. We already live in an oligarchy. They've already taken your democracy from you. Jimmy, what do you mean we live in an oligarchy? Meaning that we don't get a say in our government. That's what I mean. And you know who does? Oligarchs, a handful of really wealthy people who are connected. That's who has a say in our government. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what I want. It doesn't matter what the 80%, let's say 90% of the country, what we want. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We all wanted the public option. 80% of people wanted the public option. We didn't get it. 90% of people want some kind of gun legislation. We ain't getting it. We all want to stop these crazy wars. They ain't stopping. We all want regulation of Wall Street. They ain't doing it. We wanted a jobs program. We didn't get one. We already live in an oligarchy. We don't live in a democracy anymore. That's not hyperbole. And this is proving it. And so all those a-holes who are supporting Hillary Clinton and saying, oh, my God, it could be where it's already not even a democracy. Why don't you get off your ass and try to work to make this country better? Why don't you try to work to expose this kind of stuff? Why don't you try to raise the consciousness of people of how our government has been hijacked by corporations and it doesn't really matter who you vote for? There's no way to vote against Goldman Sachs this election if you vote for one of the two major parties. There's no way to vote against more war. There's no way to vote against big pharma. There's no way to vote against more fracking. There's no way to vote against more pipelines. There's no way to vote against it. Right now, the Barack Obama's pushing it. There's no way to vote against more NAFTAs. Right now, Barack Obama, they go, oh, well, vote for Hillary and then hold her feet to the fire and make her do liberal things. Right now, the president is pushing the TPP. The Democratic president right now is pushing the TPP. Who's holding his feet to the fire? Nobody. Are they screaming about it at MSNBC? No. You know why? Because Comcast owns MSNBC and they want the TPP. So all those journalists at MSNBC shut their fucking mouths about it. And it's up to comedians to say stuff about it. And it's up to hackers to say stuff about it. Because mainstream journalists aren't saying a goddamn thing about it. That's why. We already had your government taken from you.